Hey guys, we're back. So after removing all the wiring for the air horn and the rock lights and all that, I have the fuse box off so I could get to the wiring harness so that I could bypass and activate each side of the headlights. The switch from factory is wired as a single pole triple throw switch, but we're gonna do a double pole triple throw switch where at position 1 it activates the upper, at position 2 it activates both upper and lower, and position 3 it only activates the lower. It does have 8 terminals, but 2 of those terminals is just for the light for the switch. I opted to use this panel. I think it's easier and cheaper to replace if I needed to. I'm putting the switch on the right side of the panel because if I put it on the left side of the panel, the switch will hit the fuse box in the back. And what's good about this panel is that if we're adding switches in the future, we can on this panel. I'm using a Tack Life digital caliper. Got it from Amazon. It was pretty cheap and it works for what we needed to. Also, I'm using this Tack Life rotary tool. Also got from Amazon. It was cheap, and it actually works pretty well. I used this rotary tool on the entire build of the headlight. Remember guys, when you file in one direction. Measure twice, cut once, adjust 10 times. So I was going to use spade connectors in the back of the switch, but I just decided to use the to solder on the JST connectors in the back. I'm using a 3-pin and a 4-pin JST connector. The 3-pin is going to be just power for the light on the switch, and the power input for each side of the headlight. So throughout this installation, I'm using these butt connectors. They're not the best, but they work. So long as you get a good crimp on them, they do the job. I'm using a crimper that I got from Matco. The wire strippers is from Ideal. They're a strip master, and I like them. You can strip from 22 all the way up to 12, I think, and they were pretty cheap on Amazon. This is about the only piece of electrical tape I used in this installation, and that's just for, keeping the wires together. So I'm using a factory ground point for the bypass on the ground on the fog lights. The truck does not have fog lights, so I haven't really checked if they work. We'll do that some other day. So the orange wire that you see there, that's coming from the main headlight switch. That's powering the light for the switch, and also goes to each side of the headlight. Testing the switch, and it does turn on. Both sides are on. On position 1, only the driver's side is on, and on position 3, only the passenger side is on. Now we're going to install the drivers and route the cutoff leads on the drivers for the demonized. So how this works is when the ignition is on, the DRL and all 4 demonized eyes are supposed to be on. When the upper projectors are activated, the upper demonized turn off. They turn off when the cutoff leads are powered. And then same goes for the lower demonized. Now, I actually ran into a few issues. Number one is when I turn the ignition on, the demonized do activate, but when turning on the projectors, none of them deactivate. Number two is that at first, turning on the projectors, the driver's upper projector does not turn on. then number 3, when selecting just the lower projectors, the upper projectors do turn off, but when selecting just the upper projectors, the lower projectors does not turn off. And the only time I can make all projectors work is when I unplug each input of where the cutoff leads are connected to. But when the ignition is cycled again, turned off and on, the same issues are still there until I disconnect and connect the inputs again. A couple of my coworkers actually had the same issue, and after a ton of back and forth with the retrofit source and then countless driver exchanges, they figured out that the cutoff leads are somehow backfeeding through the drivers and the controller and making the whole system do crazy things. You guys can see here the DRLs do work. The demonize work, but when you turn them on, the demonize is not on, and the projectors, the driver side upper, is not on. The lower projectors does not deactivate. The only time I could make them deactivate is unplugging it, plugging it back in, and then the driver's upper, I could unplug it and plug it back in, and now they all work until I cycle the key again and the same thing happens. So what I ended up doing is actually just disconnecting the whole controller and driver for the demonize for now until I find a fix for these issues. Well, removing them is a fix, but I don't have demonize for now. And by the time I've aligned the lights and got them working correctly, I think the lower mini H17s have burnt bowls already. I only used 35 watt ballasts on them, but still they're very dim compared to the upper D2S. Oh well, until next time, peace.